Hello and welcome to another episode of Oh So Curious Times DCU Daily. I have saved up all my energy for just this show because I haven't been feeling well, but we are here and we're gonna do the show today, and it's gonna be a fun show, even though there's not much going on in the world of movies in terms of new movies. I mean, we had this movie called Trap, an M Night film, which actually is ironic because there's another M Night film that came out 25 years ago, almost to the day, that we're gonna talk about, which was probably a better movie than the one that we're gonna talk about than the one that came out this week. But anywho, it's also James Gunn's birthday today, so we're gonna celebrate that. We're gonna talk about all that he has done for the world of comic books, including Marvel and DC, of course. And we have to look ahead to Borderlands coming out next week. There's It Ends With Us if you're into rom coms and you want to watch a Blake Lively movie because you're tired of Ryan Reynolds and Deadpool. Speaking of Deadpool, there it's a couple of more records that the movie has broken. Deadpool and Wolverine, and it's not just Deadpool and Wolverine breaking records. Blade, Wesley Snipes, the main man, has also broken some records. So we're gonna get into that Guinness World Records, that is. But to do all that and so much more, let's get the show started. All right, we are back, and Bridget is not. Okay, well, here we go. We are off to a great start here. How are you guys doing? I'll start with you, John. How's your day been?
It's been kind of, just kind of listless a little bit, just kind of doing whatever, just little musha, just kind of couch potato day a little bit. You could tell because I haven't done my laundry in the fucking back on my chair, and that's why it's filled with garbage. So I apologize for the unprofessionalism on my chair. It's been like that the past week, so sorry. But I'll get that. Don't worry, I'll have like an ADHD moment and get that done at like 3 a.m, and then it'll be good. But outside of that, yeah, couch potato day. So. Oh well.
Yeah, I don't know what mushaj means, but I'll take it. Bridget, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Yeah, I did have a coffee not long ago, so I have a little bit more energy than I think either of you guys, which is good. Someone's gotta keep this ball rolling today. But yeah, I'm doing well. Also did my laundry yesterday, so I'm feeling good.
Yeah, well, I have not done my laundry today, so with that in mind, let's we, as we always do, we kick off the show with the news. There's a lot going on in the world of Hollywood, and always that's the first thing we want to get into, and then we're gonna get into a movie review and talk about Deadpool and Wolverine and all the records that Wesley Snipes is breaking as Blade, and that's gonna be, of course, part of the news. So let's dive into that. It doesn't seem to matter what I do.
Number 2. All right, mister, I need to paint my abs on to get nominated. You don't see Robert Downey doing that.
You're kidding. You're kidding. I can't open the envelope without the...
Warner Brothers is heading back into the Matrix with a new movie in the works.
Wonder what other surprises are in store.
I want to be Bruce Wayne.
I like that. You're gonna love me.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see
right there.
You look ridiculous.
Well, not no more, he don't.
What, dude? I can barely understand you. Your accent's insane.
What
Give me a hand up. Nope, I'm actually okay. Thank you very much.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah, we're gonna keep the slap in there as long as they don't reenact it and Chris Rock gets to slap Will Smith back. Until that happens, we're just gonna keep that clip in there. But there's of course so much more going on in the world of Hollywood, so let's dive into it. John, I want to start off here and get your take on this first because you're a fan of horror movies. A24 does horror better than just about anybody. And Zendaya and Robert Pattinson,
For the most part, yes.
for the most part, let's just, I'm generalizing here.
Mhm.
Because of course that's what we do in the world of movie talk. Zendaya and Robert Pattinson, they are in early talks to star in this A24 movie, The Drama, from Dream scenario director Christopher Borgli. What are your thoughts on this? And can you tell us a little bit more about what this movie might entail, the director, how this is coming together? Two high-profile actors going into an A24 film, a studio that's all of a sudden, I feel like is going up into that mid-major category now. What do you think?
Good. I'm sorry if I'm like there's like 15
Yeah, I'm like, is
gnats.
there like a fly?
There's like
Okay.
3 gnats around me right now, and I can't, like, it's not like a fly where I can kill it. It's just like they keep going in front of my eyes, and it's just disconcerting. Anyway, so
I'm trying to
Yeah.
do the laundry.
probably. But I need to put some like candles on and shit. Anyway,
Yeah.
but this is exciting because I really like Dream Scenario. I thought Nick Cage did a fabulous job in that movie. It's definitely a weird experience that I can't really explain. Very mean-spirited, kind of fucked up experience of a movie, but like in a good way. I don't know if that makes sense, but like, yeah, I it's exciting, and I hope it's produced by, I think it's specifically Ari Aster's production company, as well as like A24. But
Mhm.
I mean, Ari Aster is a filmmaker that exists, unfortunately. I liked Midsummer. That's all I can really say about that. But like,
Dude,
when it comes to producing movies, I mean, we have Dream Scenario, but we also have Sasquatch Sunset, which was apparently very bad. So it could go either if it follows more Dream Scenario, then cool. I'm all for that. I do love me some Pattinson. I do love me some not Mary Jane Watson, but is also Mary Jane Watson, because Kevin Feige is a moron. But yeah, this is exciting. Like I think
MJ.
A24 does more good than harm. I feel, yeah, they produce some pretty bad movies, but they've also continually produced great ones. So I like the director, I like the 2 stars, and the overall like premise seems interesting, where it's like I think right before they celebrate an anniversary, like shit goes down between the 2 of them, and like they got to deal with that. So I'm like, that could be like interesting. I wish it was a more creative title than The Drama, but I think I'm like cautiously optimistic about this. I think if the director sticks to his guns and we get a good movie, then we get a good movie. I like some of the parts of this. I don't like others, but I think this is definitely, an exciting, like, lower cut drama that I'm getting more and more into after, superhero movies and big blockbusters and Hollywood movies have just forsaken me for too long. So I'm like, what? Just give me indie movies at this point. I'll take them.
Yeah, I mean, not every movie needs to be, saving the world or like some alien invasion. But I was gonna say, we reviewed Beau is Afraid on this channel last year, and I'm pretty sure Mags and I spent like an hour talking about the movie, and I still don't know what it's about. And so your point on Ari Aster being a very eccentric filmmaker, whether as a producer or director, it's just, I don't know. I mean, Bridget, you saw this news. Yeah. Sorry, you were going to say, John?
No, it's just like, just never watch Beau is Afraid. Don't watch Strange Thing About the Johnsons either. Please don't. Just
do yourself a favor. It's
just like stick to Hereditary, which, Midsummer might be your just honestly just Hereditary. That's probably just the one thing, because Midsummer is like really weird. Hereditary kind of keeps it in check, so like I would say just stick with that one.
Well, Bridget, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think you'd want to see Zendaya and Robert Pattinson together? I don't really think we have seen much of them before as a pairing, so it certainly would be different and unique. And they're both on hot streaks, of course, both in franchise world and, of course, indie movie world.
Right, yeah. I think it could be a really interesting pairing. And as you say, like, coming from these superhero worlds, it would just be yeah, I think kind of unique to see them together for the first time. And then as it said too in the article, off of the success of the dream scenario, I think that's kind of what got her excited about wanting to work on this next project and have her as their front runner. So I feel like that's all good news if she liked what they did there and now she wants to be on this next project. Maybe that means like this little slope of success is going to keep rising and this will be like another really great film. But I also agree, it's the title seems, I don't know why, but it's like reminding me of the marriage story. I just feel like a little title like that where it's like, I don't know. Like, I mean, I don't want to judge a movie too harshly on its title, but it's kind of weak.
I mean, but hey, look, there's some directors do go with that. We have a movie we're reviewing later on today where, M. Night just said, F it, like Trap. That's all we're gonna go with. We have 4 letters.
I know.
It's
but
and
I feel like a lot of
sometimes
his titles
works,
are kind of like that too.
I think Trap
No,
works heavily for the movie. I think it like really works with how layered it is. So I'm good with it. I think
we will get into that. We will get into that. Sorry, you were gonna say Bridget.
I was gonna say, actually, I know we'll talk about it later, but I kind of wish he did name it something else because it was kind of like within the first couple minutes of it playing, it was like, oh, this is a trap, and it's like, okay.
Yeah, it's a little over the top and on the nose. Yeah, we'll dive into that later. We're gonna review Traps, so stick around. We're definitely gonna do that. But yeah, Ray J 365. Unfortunately, you have seen Beau is Afraid. It seems like so. Our condolences to you and to your time lost doing that. But we're gonna move on. We're gonna so guys, like if you are a fan, if you are a fan of the John Wick franchise, you know that they have made now 4 movies, and they decidedly were gonna basically end the franchise. Except, they're doing spin-offs. But then they were like, you know what? This franchise is still just blowing up. So why not we keep making more of them? So they are. But not only are they making more John Wick movies, they are also continuing to make more John Wick spin-off TV series. Of course, the last one that they made didn't really do all so hot. What was it? Like something to do with the Continental? Right?
Yeah, it was supposed to be a movie, and then it was supposed to be like an ongoing series, and then they're like, they like couldn't get anybody on board for it. Then like, it'll be a miniseries. Get Mel Gibson in it, sure, why not? And then it kind of got shit out onto one of the streaming services, and then everyone forgot about it.
Yeah, it's something where I would say that series ultimately, like it was initially going to be on like Lionsgate streaming service. Was it like Stars, I think, and then they sold it off to Peacock, and it just got bad reviews, and it sort of just like went downhill from there. But that's not stopping Lionsgate from trying to capitalize on this property. So they are going back in to the bucket, and now they're pitching another TV series based on the franchise, which is meant to be more of a direct follow-up to John Wick 4 as opposed to being like a prequel. So this is, of course, again from Lionsgate, the studio that manages the franchise. They're the it's their franchise, much like Marvel is to Disney. So this is being co-created by Robert Levine, who has made what I think is one of the best shows on TV today, and on its way for the second season that Jeff Bridges stars in. Jeff Bridges, and I'm forgetting what's the other big actor in there. There's like these two. I'm forgetting the name of the other person, but basically,
isn't it John Lithgow?
Yes, John Lithgow. Jeff Bridges and John Lithgow in The Old Man. So Robert Levine is the one who wrote The Old Man, and now he's co-creating this show. John, I'll start with you again because I think you had some insight into both the creator of the show, of this upcoming show, but also just the significance of continuing to expand this franchise. Like Lionsgate is not one of those big studios. They're considered a mid-major. So for them to be able to, have more of these franchises under their belt, like the Hunger Games came and went, they had a prequel recently, but now the John Wick franchise just seems to keep growing. You still have that ballerina movie that that is on its way. But like, what do you think about this TV show? Do you think this is something that interests you? What about the story of the show as well?
I think it's a good idea. Like, it definitely, like, from the way it's described as like, okay, John, after the supposed death of John Wick, because now they're like, oh, maybe he didn't die. So like after that, there's kind of like a vacuum in terms of the high table, and so they're like, all right, let's try to get like some like let's try to build upon this. And of course, when it comes to getting more newer, younger people, to get into like a more traditional sense, you get like those more progressive ideals and all that. So you have these newer people coming in, and then you have like the older traditional people like Ian McShane's character and all those people. And then so it's kind of like a clash between generations, it seems like, and how to like further this like world of like this assassin world of like the High Table and like its underlings. So I think that's definitely an intriguing idea, and anything that can like break through in terms of this world, I think is a good idea. Like, I know the Continental was not very good, but like, I feel like that was just kind of, it was in development for so long. They're like, okay, I guess we just have to do it. And so they did it. And I heard it was like, it was mainly mixed to negative, but I heard a couple people liked it. They're like, oh yeah, it was fine. So I feel like if, it could be a good idea. And then the only other thing is like I've heard the ballerina movie has been like getting reshot and re-edited, and the test screenings are not very good. So I've heard that that's not great. So I hope this one works because it sounds like a really good idea. But if ballerina fails, and then if this fails, then I think it's just, guys, stop with the spin-off John Wick stuff and just end it after the 4 movies, because it seems like that's your bread and butter. And even then, the last John Wick movie was kind of weak in comparison to the first. I would say 1 and 3. 1 and 3 were probably the best ones. 2 was the weakest, but 4 was good, but it was like not as good as other entries. So I would say just quit while you're kind of stumbling ahead, not totally ahead, because you kind of lost track of the plot a little bit. So I would say after if these 3 spinoffs, 1 out of which was not very good, 2 looks like not good at all, like in terms of test screenings, and then this 3rd one, I'd say So, but I hope it's good because I do like this world, and Keanu Reeves is, God. He's a god among men because we love him so much. So, I hope it works out. I like Chad Stahelski.
Yeah. Well, Chad Stahelski is now basically right. He's the Kevin Feige of this franchise. He's been put in charge. He's signed an overall deal with the studio Lionsgate to oversee both the film and television future of the franchise. And then Under the High Table really does sort of kind of take a question that a lot of people walked away from John Wick 4 thinking about. Well, where do we go from here in terms of what, this high table, this concept of this high table, like, because the John Wick movies have done a very good job of like setting up these institutions in the world of John Wick that John Wick then has to go up against and tackle and take down. But then what happens afterward, right? It's one of those things like the happily ever after happened, but now what, right? Like it's right. Not in a more darker sense, but it's a good storytelling opportunity potentially, and certainly something to build off of. It's not a prequel. It looks like they're moving the story forward, which is also, I think, something worth looking at because you're not so limited by what is going to happen ahead of the events of this series outside of maybe John Wick 5. But Bridget, I did want to ask you this. Of course, like John mentioned, Ballerina is still in production with Ana de Armas leading that movie, and who knows how good or bad that might be. I mean, she's always kills it with every role she takes on, and she's been on a hot streak of late, and it looked like that project had a lot of juice behind it, and whether it actually is good or not, we'll find out. But now, in addition to that, we also have this TV series going on. And when Lionsgate was asked about, hey, does this sort of delay the development work on John Wick 5 because they're focusing on this series and Ballerina and whatever else they might have going on, they really didn't have a comment. So I do wonder, like John said, this is a franchise that is built on the foundation of Keanu Reeves' character of John Wick. And if they start doing all these spin-offs and prequels and sequels and whatever, does that at some point dilute the franchise to the point where, it starts to lose a sense of identity? Because ultimately it's the John Wick franchise. It's in the name. And you can't go too long without John Wick being a part of the franchise, right? Like, so what do you think, Bridget? Do you think they're trying to move too quick to expand this franchise? Or should they maybe, let's do one spin-off in a movie with John Wick kind of thing? Like, what do you think about the idea of just kind of diluting the story, the world of that they've created here?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I do think, as you said, with the Continental being out and everything, I wonder if because that didn't go as well as they thought, maybe this is like a backup plan, a plan B to like kind of get something else going within the same world that is maybe going to be more interesting for viewers, especially for fans of the show. Maybe they want to see more of John Wick involved in this, and they just because it's Keanu Reeves. I feel like he is kind of the big draw to the franchise, and I feel like that's probably what people really want to see more of. But I am excited for the Ballerina movie as well. So if that is kind of taking a lot of the time away to focus on these other projects, I kind of understand. I mean, I guess there's not really much that they can do. But yeah, I think if it's kind of that give and take, then we might have to wait a bit for this to really start streaming for us.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of active projects under development. Clearly, Lionsgate wants to capitalize on this franchise as a whole. So we'll have to see just how far they can take it. It's
and I think too, while they still have the interest as well. It's not something I think a lot of the younger generation watches much. I just know people my age and older were more into John Wick. So I also feel like that's kind of you have to keep people's engagement, especially these days, because new projects are out all the time.
Yeah. I mean, I think, but John Wick as a franchise is probably more relevant than a lot of other franchises. It is yet to be determined, though, just how successful can these stories be within the world of John Wick that don't feature John Wick. Like they teased like that Donnie Yen character almost getting its own movie by the end of the fourth film, where they have this scene where you could spin that whole story thread into its own movie or TV show. I'm like, that I don't know why they haven't pursued that, or maybe they are, but that's not public yet, because I'm like, that should have been the first spin-off they went after, because that has the most
that would
potential.
make the most sense.
Yeah, like you got Donnie Yen, like he's put him in the marquee, and like whether it's a TV, if you don't feel confident in doing it as a movie, do it as a TV show. But of course, there's a lot more to come. Like, let us know in the comments, guys, what you think about the idea of this, the high table, John Wick under the high table sort of series, where essentially there's a power vacuum left behind by the events of John Wick 4, and it looks like there will be new, characters and players rising up to try to fill that power vacuum, kind of like the Penguin and the Batman world that we keep talking about on DCU Daily. So how that plays out, what that ends up becoming, let us know in the comments what you think, and do you think this series will have any potential to be successful? I mean, the Continental had one of the highest launches, one of the best launches at Peacock. It wasn't rated very well, but people did check it out. So maybe this show can have a similar launch, but maybe a better reception from the critics and the audiences as well. So the next story that we have, John, I will definitely let you, give your take on this. Jenna Ortega, of course, of Wednesday fame. She's done so many other things. She is gonna be back in the new season of Wednesday soon, hopefully. And of course, Glenn Powell. It's Glenn Powell's world. We're just living in it these days. Twisters, Top Gun Maverick sequel. He's got every other movie project that's out there. Hitman. He's probably fielding 20 offers a day, and then he gets to pick literally whatever he wants.
According to clickbait sites, he's the next Batman. So
the next Batman. So now Jenna Ortega and Glenn Powell might be. I mean, Glenn Powell, it looks like he's already on board this project, this secret J.J. Abrams project, which I assume means J.J. Abrams is producing it. But Jenna Ortega is now in talks to join this film over at Warner Brothers. John, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, I'm wondering, what is J.J. Abrams still even doing at Warner Brothers? Wasn't he like?
I mean, he just co-created the fucking Kid Crusader TV series, so he's clearly doing something. But
okay, because his overall deal was slashed with Bad Robot, right? Like he had $500 million to play with, and they were like, "No." David Zaslav was
they realized, "Oh no, you suck. Let's not do that at all." So here, I just feel like he's going back to like what he's known for. Maybe it'll do well for him, maybe it won't. I don't know, but like, because that's what like he kind of was like for his first few movies before he like really hit it big on like Star Trek and Star Wars and all that. Like he's like, oh, like the whole fucking marketing behind Super 8 was like, oh look, It's a secret movie, and it was like the secret production. It had like 10 different titles. There's all this stuff. So I feel like he's going back to that kind of like going to M. Night Shyamalan comparison because, you know, Trap, but like that's kind of how he did, like after he did like 2 big blockbusters, he's like, you know what? Let's not do that anymore. Let's go back to what I'm known for, indie horror. We'll stick with that, and that's what he did with The Visit. So
he wrote the script for this movie.
It feels like J.J. Abrams is kind of just going back to what he's like known for with like mystery box secret fucking shit, and so maybe that'll do well for him. Because I mean, I still remember liking Super 8, although I did like it better when it was called ET. But I thought Super 8 was fine. The first Star Trek was like, you could barely call it Star Trek, but it was fine. And then Force Awakens was fine. Like I feel like J.J. Abrams is one of those guys that I feel like has kind of overstayed his welcome, because I feel like he's gotten a couple good projects under his belt, and then now they're like, all right, I guess we kind of have to still let him go rampant for some reason. Yet, you know, it just kind of feels weird at this point, because it's like, does anybody really care about? Because J.J. Abrams was like the biggest fucking name in like the late 2000s,
and
then
like everybody wanted him to come on board and like give their franchise a boost of adrenaline.
Yeah, I mean, after Mission
he,
Impossible 2, he came in with Mission Impossible 3, and Mission Impossible 3 was so much better. Even though it's not one of the better movies of the franchise, it's still a pretty good movie. But like, and then he was like attached to the fucking Superman movie that never saw the light of day, which was like Superman Man of Steel, which would have featured Kryptonian kung fu for some reason. And then yeah, it was weird. But it just feels like, it's just like, I don't know what he's doing. Like after imploding, pretty much almost killing Star Trek until Justin Lin came in and like kind of revived it with Star Trek Beyond, and then him just
good movie.
Absolutely murdering Star Wars on the big screen to the point we haven't gotten a Star Wars movie in 5 years. So it's like, wow, it's like, why is this guy still around? But you know what? If he wants to go back to what he's known for, then all power to him. Maybe Glenn Powell and possibly Jenna Ortega will make it a good time. So there's that. But of course, like we can't know anything about it because like it's probably like just a shit movie. And he's like, I'm not going to tell anybody because mystery. But in fact, it's just garbage. So, you know, we'll see. But like, I have no, like, I just couldn't care about J.J. Abrams. Even if I tried, like I just, what was he doing? What was he doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I actually made a really good meme of this back when he was when Bad Robot and him were like signed on to do like it was like Justice League Dark, and like there was like going to be Zatanna, Constantine, and like all these other projects he was going to be a part of. And I made this really great meme that actually got really famous for a bit. I was very proud of that.
I remember you mentioned it. Yeah.
But I just don't get it. Like, I don't get why he's still around. Like, Rise of Skywalker, like that's a career ender. Like, I don't know how he's still around, but
he's
good for him, I guess.
I mean, yeah, he's built up enough clout to last a while in Hollywood. He's gonna have it's from how high he went. I think it takes a long time for you to like completely fall off, and he's done well enough for himself that I mean, you know, Batman Cape Crusader is getting pretty good reviews overall too, and we're gonna review Batman Cape Crusader tomorrow, so do check in for DCU Daily. But you know, Bridget, as far as this project goes, while J.J. Abrams might be franchise kryptonite for any big franchise IP. On the other hand, Glenn Powell he seems to be the opposite. He seems to be, like just the absolute, shot of
the magnet,
the arm that any franchise can use right now. And then Jenna Ortega just can't seem to miss. There's not much that she has done that hasn't been a hit. So when you take these two and you pair them together, and what's probably going to be the first time that we see them in that capacity, do you think this is gonna, and especially if it's like a sci-fi movie, which again is J.J. Abrams' wheelhouse? Do you think this is a winning combination potentially, or is this another one of those projects that's going to come and go, maybe like Passengers with Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence that just was not very good, quite frankly?
Yeah, that is a good question. I can really see it going either way at this point, because it's a good question. It's like, well, we have this director, which we have some thoughts on, but we also have these really, really great actors, and they can bring a lot to the table as far as not just their acting, but the audience that they draw in. And so it could be a great movie, but at the same time, I do feel that even if you have great, wonderful actors, and as if with J.J. Abrams' past work, sometimes it feels like he's all style and not a lot of substance. I feel like if you don't have a great plot and you don't have a great story, then even if you have a really great talent, it can, you can't just, you can put icing on trash, but it can still be trash. So I think it really depends a lot on what the story is, and of course it's too early to really know much about it. And they might try the tactic of mystery, which I won't lie, works on me. Like, I know we'll talk about it later, but even with the Trap movie, that had me very intrigued, and I just wanted to see it because I wanted to know what was going on with that. So it does work. Yeah. So yeah, well, we'll have to see. I hope he doesn't put any more of those halo light streaks in this next one.
Oh yeah, the one where they literally just shine him at the camera off the side.
Yeah,
I've seen the behind the scenes
lens flares.
Lens
flares. Yeah.
I don't know why. I mean, we were both must be. John just sent me the meme. We're gonna definitely get into that. But I did want to quickly just touch upon the idea that here, like, J.J. Abrams is always been a very visual filmmaker. Like, he's somebody who clearly, I think despite the fact that we're making fun of his lens flares, like, he's committed to that look. And there's very few filmmakers in Hollywood today, in a crowded world landscape, where you watch a movie and you can immediately recognize, like, hey,
their
that
style
is made by
like Zack Snyder.
Person. Zack Snyder, you can count him maybe even on one or two hands, right? Like, Zack Snyder, you've got Christopher Nolan. You know what a Christopher Nolan movie looks like. You know what a James Cameron movie looks like. It's got blue people in it. You know what a movie by Michael Bay looks like. It's got gunpowder explosions, like, and like these flying, like, sweeping, shots, telescoping and shots. You know what a J.J. Abrams movie looks like. It's got like, all kinds of lens flares, and like cameras always like doing these Dutch angles and flying around. So that's the meme from John, by the way.
Luckily, that didn't happen. It happened without him, but like,
he was knocking. He was knocking on the door. It could have been worse. It could have been worse. He was knocking on the door.
But yeah, luckily he didn't kill DC just like everybody else fucking did.
DC killed DC.
DC killed DC.
They're like, we're good. We got it.
Was fine. I'll do it myself. And they didn't even need him to wreck it. They just wrecked it themselves. And I'm like, all right. DC continually shooting themselves in the foot since, I don't know, the 90s. Ever since they got Dan DiDio to fucking be the CEO of DC Comics, they've been just continually shooting themselves in the foot.
Well, hey, look, at the end of the day, J.J. Abrams does hit every once in a while. And while I think he's, like I said, he's better as a visual filmmaker, not maybe as a writer, which is what worries me, that this particular movie that we've been talking about, he is writing. I don't know if he's going to direct, but it looks like he will probably be producing through Bad Robot. So we'll see what comes of it. Let us know in the comments what you guys think about it. RayJ6365 just simply looks the other way every time he sees J.J. Abrams coming. So we know what you think about it, RayJ. And by the way, if you are watching and you're seeing John, try to like swat some flies, why don't you, while you guys are at it, swat the like and subscribe buttons, because that will help us out on the channel a lot.
Yeah, it's his laundry.
Yeah,
it's not the laundry. I swear, even my mom was like, "It's fucking gnats."
It's right back there on the left side of the screen.
It's clean clothing. It's not dirty clothing. It's clean clothing. I need to put away.
Hovering over that thing. Okay, it just looks like a scene from Ed and Eddie right now. But
I'll just eat my mattress.
So, okay, good job. But this is the other piece of news. This is a big piece of news. Wesley Snipes, first played the character of Blade back all the way in 1997. It was a different century. It was the 20th century. The studio doesn't even exist anymore. We're now in the 21st century. But Wesley Snipes was Blade, and Wesley Snipes is
the only Blade.
the only Blade, because Marshall Ali will never get to play Blade because that movie will never happen. So Wesley Snipes, they decided, you know what, the quickest way to get a Blade on our screens in the MCU is just bring Wesley Snipes back. And despite his experience with the third movie and, you know, how that franchise sort of petered off, it was the franchise that sort of kicked off the modern era of, you know, Marvel movies and in a lot of ways superhero movies, because even the Batman franchise at the time was sort of down in the dumps after Batman and Robin, which I, for one, have a great appreciation for because of just how punny it is. But Blade was rated R, and it was rated R superhero movie at a time when, you know, Batman and Robin was out there in the world. So now Blade has come back. He has returned for the first time in a long time. But in the process of coming back with Deadpool and Wolverine, which if you guys think this is a spoiler at this point, I'm sorry. Just, you know, it's too late now. But hey, John, what are some of the records that Wesley Snipes' Blade has now broken? Guinness World Records, to be exact.
Yeah.
By returning as Blade in Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah, it looks like they beat now like Hugh Jackman, who, you know, was also in the film, in terms of longest, because that was only in 2000, and then same with, you know, Patrick Stewart.
The longest Marvel character, right?
Charles Xavier, like
actor,
longest. Because he came back, I believe Patrick Stewart had a 22-year stint, and then now Hugh Jackman has a 24-year stint. And then there was like the longest gap between character appearances in Marvel films. There was almost a 20-year gap between Trinity and Deadpool and Wolverine, and then, you know, longest career as a live action character, and then there was, you know, the longest gap was Alfred Molina, and then with No Way Home,
Spider-Man 2 to No Way Home,
yeah, and then, which is a little weird because you think that Willem Dafoe would be longer, but that's beside the point. But yeah, I think because you know why? You know, probably know why, because I think Willem Dafoe appeared in Spider-Man 3. Spider-Man 3 for like a flashback sequence or something like that.
You're right. That's exactly correct.
Yeah, so I think that's probably why. But yeah, the longest gap, longest Marvel character, and then, you know, he goes on to talk about how he didn't think it would happen. Like, he's like, I didn't think I would ever, you know, he's like, you know, they have Mahershala Ali now. And he's like, I didn't think it would be possible.
Do they have Mahershala Ali now?
I mean, technically, he appeared off screen in a voice cameo in Eternals in a post credit scene. So technically, it's canonical. Yes. So technically, but hey, they'll probably retcon it and say that was just Cottonmouth because, you know. But yeah, he was talking about like how he didn't think he would ever come back as Blade again, but, you know, Ryan Reynolds texted him and he's like, all right, if people are into it, if you can get this shit made, then sure. And they eventually got it made, and he was like, all right, I'll come back. And then Disney was into it, and they were all into it. So he was like, okay, cool. Yeah. And so he broke a shit ton of records because of that. So good for him, because, I mean, all three Blade movies have something about them, like whether being genuinely good or unintentionally good in a bad way, but also in a good way. The Blade movies all have something to offer. I think the first one is like very like 90s. It's a very 90s movie. Whether it's a good or a bad way, I think depends on the person. And then Blade 2 was very like neo-gothic, kind of following into like, you know, like the Crow vibes a little bit with Guillermo del Toro's you know, style. And then Blade Trinity was just a fun mess of a movie.
Isn't that the one Ryan Reynolds was a part of?
The Ryan Reynolds, which as Hannibal King, who was essentially proto Deadpool. So, you know,
he's been preparing for this role his entire career.
Wesley Snipes was like he did clear it up, and he said that he's like, I didn't actually hate Ryan Reynolds, but like he was a bit of a prima donna on that Blade Trinity set, mainly because it's like, I think it was like he loved working with Guillermo del Toro because Guillermo del Toro. He's fucking
Makes
amazing.
sense.
So, and I think what happened was there was some like little bit of egos on set between Del Toro and David S. Goyer.
There's stories.
So there was like, I think a little bit, and Del Toro didn't really want to do another Blade movie. And so he's like, you know what? I'm just going to go do Hellboy. And so we did Hellboy. And so we left the set and they couldn't get another director. So David S. Goyer, who had written all the Blade movies, he's like, I'll direct it. And the thing is, Wesley Snipes did not like the way he was doing things, and then the studio was meddling a lot after, you know, 2 great movies where there was little next to no studio meddling, like, okay, let's meddle now. So I think there was also that there was like the famous incident where Wesley Snipes refused to open his eyes at the end of the movie because he's like, I want my character to be dead, so like keep me dead. But then so they had to CGI on him opening his eyes, like eyes opening. It was really bad. It was a whole thing, and like he would just be in his trailer half the time just getting high, and then he would like according to Patton Oswalt, there was like he wouldn't talk to the other actors. He would just leave post-it notes everywhere on like what he wanted to do, and he would sign them as like signed Blade. And he was like, it was like a whole mess on like Wesley Snipes acting like a fucking narcissistic douchebag, but like, maybe he, you know, finally was like, all right, fine, whatever. I'll do this, but I won't be a dick about it. I swear.
But hey, you know what? All is well that ends well, and it looks like, you know, Wesley Snipes is firmly back in the Marvel family, and they might need him for Secret Wars. You never know. I mean, if I was a betting man, my money would be on him coming back again for that movie. But Bridget, what do you think about this? I mean, of course, Wesley Snipes as Blade is one of the earliest iterations of a live-action movie, you know, Marvel character, and he played it for 3 films. Right. He's now back years later. He has had nothing to do with the MCU in the times, you know, since its launch. He really was, even as far as this 20th Century Fox, you know, Marvel movies go, he was like well before like those movies even took off, before the X-Men really. He kind of lived in his own like R-rated world of, you know, Blade, which it looks like now they have started to, obviously for the sake of like Secret Wars and the multiverse story, they're trying to put these pieces together. And yeah, like John mentioned, there's a lot of controversy around, you know, the third movie where, you know, Wesley Snipes wasn't also on his best behavior reportedly. So for him to come back, he now takes over a couple of these records from Marvel. Marvel is the biggest franchise in Hollywood ever, with like $34 billion from 30 movies, including Deadpool Wolverine, which is still making tons of money. So what are your thoughts on seeing him back now, like literally almost 2 decades after his last try at, you know, at a Marvel character, that being Blade?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it made sense seeing him in Deadpool, and, you know, obviously him and Ryan Reynolds were in that together, him making his comeback, and it's a very humorous, jokey movie. I feel like when I hear Blade referenced a lot, it is like in jokes and things, so I feel like it made sense for that to happen. But you're right, he is kind of like the OG Marvel live action character that we've seen before a lot of things really started to pick up. So I'm really not that surprised that he has won this title. Although I do have to say, it is still possible. I don't know. I guess as we've seen with this new Deadpool Wolverine movie, that Hugh Jackman may still be in the running if he does continue doing these movies until he dies. You know?
Yeah.
As was mentioned.
Kevin Feige says he's not going anywhere. So, I mean, you know, maybe the same applies for Wesley Snipes. They were both, of course, at Comic-Con, Wesley Snipes, and, well, of course, Hugh Jackman was there because he's, you know, one of the main stars of the movie. But it looks like they're bringing back, it's very likely they bring him back for multiple movies. I mean, reportedly, there was this rumor I saw it on X, that I think it was one of those insiders, you know, saying that, hey, before they made all these changes to Avengers Doomsday, then it was still going to be Kang Dynasty, that 4th Avengers movie, or that 5th Avengers movie, Avengers 5, was going to have a story featuring, you know, Blade, featuring Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, featuring,
I heard that,
Wolverine and stuff, and like these characters coming back and then failing to defeat Kang the Conqueror because
Where have I heard
the
that
Time
before?
Variance Authority tries to take him down, and then of course in the next, which felt like again at its very base, basically a repeat of Avengers: Infinity War and Endgame.
Yeah, and
you
then they go
fail
on to
and you
like
win.
create Battle World,
Yeah.
which is featured in sequels.
Yeah.
I don't really trust that, but like
Mm-hmm.
it sounds like a little bit too much of like, oh hey, look, this is what we would want to see because we would want to see Toby and Andrew come back. We want to see Blake come back. We want to see all these, but it's like that seems a little bit too wish fulfillment, a little bit. A little bit too much because
and to do bring them back and have
look at
them
this
be
fucking
the core
movie,
team.
man. By the way, keep in mind the guy on the right, played by Dominic Purcell, that's supposed to be Dracula. By the way, like
I don't.
That makes Dracula 2000 look normal. Like Jesus Christ.
But hey, it was a whole thing, man. Like Jessica Biel, Ryan Reynolds. I wouldn't mind seeing this trio back on screen for Secret Wars. Like have Ryan Reynolds, play two characters. Who knows? I'll take it. But hey, look, at the end of the day, we have Wesley Snipes now back in the Marvel fold, and it looks like he's certainly back for Deadpool Wolverine, but he might be back for more than that. I did want to briefly touch upon this, but we will get into it again later when we're talking about Trap. But Deadpool Wolverine. Speaking of, they're continuing to break records. They are now the highest grossing rated R movie at the domestic box office of all time. And John, you had an interesting observation about that because of the movie that they beat to get there.
Yeah, they finally. So with all these, it's been just going up and up. I think it's made like 700 million, like at this point, and it finally beat out Passion of the Christ, which had been the reigning champion for like over 20 years. And so I guess you could say Marvel Jesus beat out regular Jesus. So, whatever works. Bridget clearly loved that joke. But yeah, it's sorry, but Marvel Jesus is reigning supreme over regular Jim Caviezel Jesus. But yeah, but hey, it might be dethroned again because Passion of the Christ is getting a sequel. So you know what? Passion of the Christ Resurrection coming for you, Deadpool and Wolverine. Possibly. Who knows? We'll see. But yeah, so it finally beat that out, which is, as a post I saw earlier today, nature is healing. We have a proper R-rated movie as the top champ after that fiasco, but let's not get into the a 20-plus-year-old controversy of Passion of the Christ.
Yeah. By the way, there's this question from Manolo, which I think is relevant. And Bridget, I'll ask you this: superhero fatigue was a topic of conversation for quite some time because people were like, all these superhero movies keep flopping, including Marvel with the Marvels, and of course all the DC movies toward the end of the DCEU. Outside of Aquaman 2, pretty much every DC movie over the last year or so, failed to make its money, budget back. So we finally get Deadpool Wolverine, and it's out there now, well on its way to $1 billion, and probably well beyond that. Do you think superhero fatigue is indeed a real thing, or just comic book hero fatigue, as Manolo says, or is it just a matter of like people don't want to see the same old anymore? They want to see something different, and that's maybe. I mean, even though Deadpool Wolverine isn't necessarily that, it is kind of another category of you just want to have that nostalgia, like Spider-Man No Way Home. Like, do you think that's what's going on here? Or that this is an exception to the rule, or do you think superhero fatigue is just a myth?
I think it's kind of complex, but I do think that superhero fatigue really stems from the fact that it's cookie cutter movie fatigue, where it's the same action, same generic plots, or very similar, and then the same kind of like story arcs. That's what I think people, rightfully so, are so sick of. I think whereas Deadpool and Wolverine is so different than all those movies is because it is satirical, and even in the movie they make a lot of fun of those things, which I think for the audience people like. They like that they're joking about this and actually talking about what people are feeling, which is a lot of disappointment with Marvel and wanting things to be better, which with the new DCU, I know we are hoping that these new movies and the direction of James Gunn are really going to come to light and be, I think, new creative stories that are different. Because one thing I love that he's doing is he's assigning different creatives and directors to each one, letting them kind of go on their own visions, which in a way is going to give us a lot of diversity.
Yeah, like filmmaker first approach, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then just even if one is, does its own thing, the next one you can't say, oh, it's going to be just like that one, because we have completely different creative direction and approach, which I think is genius. And that's what I think people have been wanting for a long time. Is if I wanted to see the same movie over and over, I would just watch the same movie over and over.
Or a TV
you can slap
show.
on Exactly. You can slap on a different character, but people aren't stupid. We know we're like, oh, why does this
People
feel
are
so
smarter
familiar?
than people. Yeah, we're smarter than people give them credit for. But I just feel like
And it's
no, continue. Sorry.
Well, I was just gonna say, I feel like it's really lazy on these studio parts. Of course, it's a huge money maker. It used to be a big money maker, getting people in. Now I think they're finding that they're losing money because, yeah, it's just it was a well-oiled machine until that well-oiled machine became too industrialized,
Stale.
and now
it's just like a factory
all
putting out the
uniqueness.
same thing. Yeah,
assembly line.
assembly line filmmaking.
It's honestly it's a disgrace to the art, and I will not stand for it.
Although,
like something new.
No, that's true. But John, at the end of the day, this movie isn't necessarily giving you anything new. In fact, this movie is almost entirely based on the idea of giving you something you're familiar with.
It is cheating a little bit, because it's a lot of as South Park would say, very member-berry. Like it's like, oh, look at all these cameos. Look at Fox X-Men. Remember the Fox X-Men?
Yeah.
Whoa, look, we have Hugh Jackman back. So it does kind of cheat the audience a little bit, because it's like it was kind of like what No Way Home was, where it's like, oh, look, we have these 2 Spider-Men back. Look at that. We have all these villains coming back. So it is a little bit cheap, a little bit cheating. But I think, but if it works, it works. It's almost at $1 billion. So like it works. And the thing is, what Marvel has in store, I just don't think people will really care about, because the next movie is Captain America: Brave New World, which is the budget has like ballooned to like 400 million or something like that. Like they're not going to say that, but like that's
they
what
reshot
allegedly
almost the whole movie.
I think they reshot it like 2 or 3 times at this point. Now we have like
crazy.
4 villains. Apparently, I was reading another article earlier today. Giancarlo Esposito did not meet any of his co-stars until they went on that panel together in Hall H in San Diego Comic-Con. So we're going to have another Tig Notaro in Army of the Dead situation, where she's like clearly by herself on a green screen set, just talking to nothing. And that's what Giancarlo Esposito is going to do, because he's just going to be like talking to nothing. And it's like, and then on top of that, you already have 3 villains a part of this movie already, and now you're adding in a 4th one. You have Sidewinder, Esposito's character. You have Red Hulk. You have Not Sabra, aka Ruth, and then you have the leader. It's like this is going to be an overstuffed mess. On top of the fact, Falcon and the Winter Soldier was not very well received. Anthony Mackie, while a very good actor, has not left much of an impact on the MCU in terms of this character to take the reins from the Captain America sub-franchise. And then on top of that, you have Thunderbolts, which could get something, because you do have fan-favorite characters like, Yelena Belova, Red Guardian, Sebastian Stan's Bucky Barnes, and then you have
bringing
Julia
Harrison Ford in.
And they are bringing Harrison Ford in. That might get us something. But at the same time, it's like, and maybe the Suicide Squad vibe might get something, but then after that, I don't know what else is coming out next year. We have Fantastic Four, which might be something, but I have a feeling just Superman is just gonna fucking torch that movie. No pun intended. But
there's a lot of hype behind the Superman movie.
It's just, sure, I feel like this is just a leftover thing from Fox. And then you have Hugh Jackman coming back, and a lot of people like Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. So like I think that was the driving force behind this.
It
So
is very much a No Way
I
Home
don't this is
for-
not
yeah.
even though we joked that like, oh, he's Marvel Jesus, it's I don't think I mean it's I feel like if you remember from the first Deadpool movie, he's like I forget what the exact quote was, but it's like life is like a terrible train wreck of a TV show that gives us short commercial breaks in between of amazing life. And now I feel like Deadpool and Wolverine was a great commercial break, but now with Brave New World, Thunderbolts, and possibly another shit Fantastic Four movie, welcome back to our regularly scheduled programming. So I don't think this is going to be this. I don't think this is going to save the MCU just because we have like every other movie at this point has been like you had Wakanda Forever. And then you had whatever shit movie after that. Then you had Guardians. I think it was Quantumania after that. Then you had Guardians. Then you had The Marvels. It's like every other movie is either really good, and then every other movie just sucks. So it's like we're due for a shit movie now. So I don't think this is saving anything. I think this is just a temporary lull. And personally, I'd like to believe Superman is going to save shit, but probably
Superman
not.
will save.
But like that's my hope at least. It's just I don't think I still think we have that comic book fatigue. I think we still have that superhero fatigue, and I don't think we're really getting anything. I think Deadpool and Wolverine was just kind of a fluke. I think it's just because it had all these characters that people like, and it was a swan song for the Fox X-Men that it gave us like a temporary lull in terms of like the garbage we're constantly getting. And then we're just probably going to go back to shit after this. Maybe that's the cynic in me. Maybe I'm just a realist. I don't know, but like that's just my opinion. It's just like this had too many good components to get people to the theaters, and I don't think anything after this will get people to the theaters.
But right. Well, it's going to be each movie has to earn its keep, and I think each movie can do it in its own way. And for the record, I think, Ron, I will respectfully disagree with you. I think Superman can make $1 billion because it just needs that hype around. And I think once you start seeing the marketing, if people are seeing the Superman they've been waiting for a long time, the majority of the people who did not necessarily like Man of Steel, I personally love Man of Steel, but I think there's potential. And it, quite frankly, even if it doesn't need to make $1 billion because the Batman with Robert Pattinson made like 700 some odd million dollars, which was huge. And now the sequel, very much, if it's good, gonna have the potential to make $1 billion. Even the first Spider-Man movie with Tom Holland did not make $1 billion, but the second one did. And I mean, it's Superman. While he's not. I think Superman is still not the Batman Spider-Man tier, which is Batman Spider-Man tier is very much its own tier. Everybody else sort of comes under it. Maybe Iron Man has joined that tier, but like as far as Deadpool Wolverine go, they've already basically made the amount of money the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 made, which is the highest grossing movie, in recent, like the last 2 years, I think, for Marvel, right? Since No Way Home came out, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 has been the highest grossing Marvel movie. Or maybe I might be wrong. Actually, you know what? I think I'm wrong because Multiverse of Madness made like almost $1 billion. So between that and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, like you said, John, like every third movie seems to be making a lot of money. This movie has already, within like 2 weeks time, like not even 2 weeks, 10 days. It's in less than 2 weeks. It's made 800 something odd million dollars.
It's made almost $1 billion.
It's almost $1 billion. It's gonna not only like reach $1 billion, but it could outgross Inside Out 2 as potentially the highest grossing movie of the year if people keep going to watch it. If they play their cards right, which I do believe so far the marketing has only gotten better. They've continued to sort of put out positive vibes. And putting out some of the spoilers at this point that people already are aware of, which will only drive more people to go back. Or, oh, you know what? I do want to go hear the Gambit accent one more time because
I just need to see the Cavalrine right now. I need to see the Cavalrine.
Oh, just like a shot in the arm, man. Just like I need to see the Cavalrine one more time. But guys, let us know in the comments what you think, of course, about all of these, news stories in the world of Hollywood. Whether it's, Pattinson joining up with A24 for a new movie alongside Zendaya, or whether it's, a new John Wick TV series, or of course whether it's a Deadpool Wolverine success. How many times did you go see the movie? Let us know in the comments below. But we do have coming up next, we have a review for Trap, and the question becomes, well, the Sham Hammer was back in action 25 years after his greatest hit got released. He has come out with this newest hit, or not hit. We'll see about whether it's a hit or not. We'll talk about it. But Trap. That's the movie of the week, and we're gonna review it next. So let's do it.
What's with all the police trucks outside? The cameras everywhere.
You know the butcher, the freaking nut job that goes around just chopping people up?
Is something wrong, Dad?
Well, the feds or whatever heard that he's gonna be here today. So they set up a trap for him.
That's insanely well cut. Thank you, Catriona. You do a fantastic job with these packages. And I mean, I don't know. I think that did a better job of getting me hyped for this movie than the trailers actually did. But Trap, Josh Hartnett, who's largely shunned Hollywood in recent years, he's back in this film, and he's leaving quite the mark, at least by the looks of all the marketing materials. It does intrigue you, but so do most M. Night movies. But the question is, was this just Shamhammer at it again? Did another one bite the dust, or were you actually impressed by the rigors of his filmmaking prowess? And so I do want to start with you, Bridget. You went and saw this movie, and I wonder what your thoughts on this movie are. If you felt like this was a great time at the cinema, or if you felt like you were trapped in a movie theater watching this film.
And yes, I will let you know that my first instinct when I left was that was trash, and I'm sorry if you disagree, but I just left feeling like the first, second, and last quarter of it were not very good. I felt like the third quarter is when things actually finally started to pick up, and I was really kind of invested and intrigued as to what was to happen. I thought, a good twist is coming. But it just seemed, I don't know, especially the ending, the way it just kind of closed at the end was so, it's just a bit ridiculous and not really plausible, that it kind of then leaves the whole thing feeling like, oh, that was just at least my experience. But I also had looked on Rotten Tomatoes to see what other people thought. I just found some really good quotes. I think this sums it up pretty well, that just like a lot of the M. Night, I always say his name wrong.
And that's Shyamalan?
Shamhammer, let's just call him that.
M. Night Shyamalan.
I don't want to put. Yeah. Shyamalan.
Yeah.
This Shyamalan movie through and through. It's ambitious in its initial concept. It's distracted in its thematic exploration, and delighted in its own twists. So I think that summed it up really well. Is that, it did have a good premise. I'll say that. I think it was kind of promising, but the execution just didn't really go, I think, as well as it could have gone. Even for some of the acting in the beginning, I felt like it almost, what it felt like to me? I was thinking I felt like I was watching like a Hallmark version of a horror movie. That's all I could think was, what is this?
Oh my God.
It was just a little, it was a little tacky, but it got better. John, what's his name?
Josh Hartnett.
Josh Hartnett. Yeah, he was really great at the end. His acting was phenomenal. But in the beginning, I feel like him being a weird guy, being a normal guy, it was just weird. It didn't really land for me. And some of the other stuff, but some other great quotes I found was, if you've just seen a couple episodes of Law and Order, even you would know the ridiculousness of the plot and script. It's kind of a mess of a movie. And that's just how I felt at the end, especially. Like, spoiler alert, the end, he gets, somehow he's supposed to get a spoke of a bicycle without anyone noticing. Like, the SWAT team is there, and he just gets a spoke of a bicycle and puts it up his sleeve. And it's like, okay, really? How? And he's in the SWAT team car all alone in the back, and it's like, there would be 2 armed guards there back with him holding a gun. Like, come on, this is not
Like after they went to all the trouble to catch this guy.
Coinkydinky.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
It's like, really? You want me to believe that he's just unsupervised in the back? Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And then one more quote I found was, was also that, this feels, and I didn't know this watching it until I looked it up at the end, but it feels more like a Salika Shyamalan concert film than a psychological thriller film. And that's how it definitely felt the first half, was like just a bunch of concert footage. And apparently it's his daughter that plays the pop star. And it's kind of weird because he cameos in it as her uncle. And it's just really strange because he's like, oh, she's so talented. Oh yeah, she's totally deserves everything she's got. And then it's just weird knowing that that's his daughter in real life. I don't know. It's just really interesting. But I'd love to hear your thoughts, John, because I know you really liked it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this one because it's one of those cases where I think I've just accepted M. Night Shyamalan's like weird stylized like world, like how it's like weirdly stilted and like not real. Like I really enjoy that. Like it's not like when I'm going to see an M. Night Shyamalan movie, I'm not expecting like regular reality. I'm expecting like a stilted reality. So like the weird acting and like the weird mannerisms, I just feel like that's his style now. Like that's not, I don't think that's the fault of anybody, but I like that style. Josh Hartnett, I feel like was excellent all the way through because like I love how he like I'm always intrigued with how people play serial killers. Like recently you had Nicolas Cage in Long Legs. You have like Michael C. Hall as Dexter, like as someone who, lives that double life like he did in the movie. So I'm always like curious how he plays it. So like I love how like when he's like looking at everything, like everything is like out of the corner of his eye, out of like just like him like noticing every little thing. It's like, okay, he sees the police officer, he sees this here. He's like the fucking like gears are turning and he's intelligent because he has to be like one step above everybody to not get caught. So he like sees like everything. And I love like how I like how slow it is in the beginning, because I know a lot of people didn't like that. It was slow in the beginning, but it's like him just like recognizing the fucking situation. He's like, okay, clearly something is not right here. And I feel like the main premise of like catching a serial killer during a concert, I'm like, yeah, that could never fucking happen. No fucking way. Even Philadelphia police would not be that fucking stupid. Like, come on. That's like totally, come on. So like I accept your premise. Like I accept the premise. And like exceeding like M. Night Shyamalan's like weird stilted like kind of world, I'm like, okay, I'm accepted into this world. And so Josh Hartnett, I feel like the man needs surgery because he broke his back from carrying this movie, because he was just so fucking great. Like I love the way he played the serial killer. Like I love how Cooper is his name in the movie. I just love how every wrench in this plan, like how he like delivers, how he like tries to go through. And what I also love about this movie is like how different it would be for this guy versus a regular serial killer. Because as we all know, like serial killers don't really have like emotions, like empathy and rage. Like he says that throughout the movie. He's like, he clearly like cares about his daughter, even though she's like this hindrance on his plan to like get the fuck out of here, because he doesn't want to get caught. But at the same time, he doesn't like just abandon her like a normal sociopath would. He like genuinely cares about her and wants to wants to make sure that this is a great day for her and all this other stuff. Like there was the scene where he's like, man, it would be so cool if we like went down there, like when Russ comes out of like the fucking bottom of the arena. He's like, man, it'd be so cool. And like if he didn't care, like he would just have jumped down there. But I like how and this borrows into why I like the title so much. I understand, oh, it's a trap, it's called Trap, okay, fine. But like I feel like there's kind of some layers to that, because like, okay, we have the surface level of like he's trapped in the arena, okay, cool, fine. But then I feel like there's also like the trap of like his life, like how he, you know, like the trap of like modern suburbia and like fatherhood, because as I was saying, like he has the hindrance of his daughter, but at the same time he like genuinely cares about her. So there's like the idea of like maybe society's sort of expectation for men his age of like the nuclear family dynamic and fatherhood, like how you have that other mother after her friend like had like the, you know, the friend throughout the movie who was like, apparently she was like a bitch to her, and like the friendship is like off the rocker now or something. And so you had that, and you still have that like through line of like, okay, the trappings of modern suburbia as someone who currently
Trappings,
lives
I
in
see what you
suburbia.
did there.
Yeah, like the
Trappings.
trappings of modern suburbia, as someone who lives in modern suburbia, yeah, it can feel like a fucking trap a lot of the time. So you have that, and then like fatherhood, but also I think there's also the deeper aspect of like, I think, yes, the police are trapping him, but I think it even goes deeper than like modern suburbia and fatherhood. You even have the deepest aspect, I think, is that he essentially trapped himself. Like, all because of this, everything that happened in the movie, because he got this family, he somehow achieved something that sociopaths shouldn't achieve, is like getting emotions. Like he somehow managed to like care for the people around him, like how towards the end of the film when he's freaking out after Lady Raven steals his phone, he doesn't just like kill his family, like boom, there you go, boom, kills them, done, we're now dealing. No, he specifically like puts them away in another room because he still genuinely cares about him. So I feel like how we went further in terms of like Josh Hartnett's psyche is like he essentially trapped himself because he went that extra step of like trying to be normal, like he, you know, conceived children and all this other shit, and like was in deep within their lives and loved them and care about them. So I feel like the title is just like really like deeper than what we think. I really want to rewatch this movie now because I feel like there's more that Shyamalan was like trying to show us, and I feel like I could get it with another watch, because I feel like there was it, and I'm not acting like it's not a flawed movie. It's a very flawed. I will agree the plot conveniences in the second half are a little bit ridiculous, and you do have and like some of the close calls might be a little bit ridiculous, and then like the constant, like in the last like 20 minutes of the movie, it's like you almost catch him, then you can't, you almost catch him. It feels like, you know, Return of the King with its like 10 different endings. So it's like, okay, when are we going to catch this guy? Let's just get this shit over with. And so you have that as well. The twist with his wife was pretty obvious, and I feel like there could have been a better twist. I think a really good, like if Shyamalan wanted to put his like trademark twist in there, what the twist? That I feel like a great twist would have been like, you have all this shit happen. Allison Pill is like, there was the scene where she's like watching the abduction of the latest victim, Spencer, from him. And it would have been really awesome if like he like goes up behind her and he says like, sweetie, like, it's so good to see you, or something like that. And it's revealed that she's also a serial killer and they're serial killers together. That would have been a better twist. And like, she's actually the mastermind behind everything. It would have been good. It's like, you motherfucker, you almost got caught, you fucking idiot. And then it's like the movie ends and it's just like, that's it. It's like, shit. That would have been great. But it was like,
Allison Pill pulled that off very well.
Yeah, like, and it was like really just like a whole thing, and that would have been really good.
And
but even
like
then, like, yeah. Sorry, what are you gonna say?
I was gonna say, and if the whole time too, she's like treats him the way that his mother did, and she's now the commanding woman figure in his life.
Yeah, exactly. That would have been great.
Kept perpetuating.
And although we wouldn't have got that really great monologue, I think that monologue from Josh Hartnett was really fucking good.
It was good.
So
about the anger
I really
was
liked
really
it. That
good.
was
Yeah.
the rage I feel right now. It was so good. Like Josh Hartnett, he has proven he's not just a pretty boy who was in shitty Halloween sequels and Titanic ripoffs and all that and shitty rom-coms. Like, he's actually a great actor, and I think I really liked Ariel Donahue, his daughter. I thought she was really good.
She was great.
Allison Pill, even though it didn't go the way I hoped with the twist of them both being serial killers, I think she played a really good scared person.
Mom.
Like, that's something I also notice, is because people tend to go really over exaggerated when they're scared, like a lesser actor. But I feel like Allison Pill like rode that line of like scared, but not like too much where it becomes ridiculous. So even though she wasn't in the movie for very long, she still gave like a really good performance. And I mean, I understand like the whole nepotism thing with his daughter. It's like it's been part of this industry since this industry began. Like Lon Chaney Sr. and Jr. You have the Barrymore dynasty. Like, you know, it's been part. So it's like nepotism doesn't usually bother me. So it's like it's annoying. It's a little dumb. You could have shaved a couple minutes off of those scenes, but you know. I don't mind it, but I understand people's like little it's annoying, but I didn't mind it. I really enjoyed it. It's not a perfect movie, but I do think
if this movie was made like even 5 years ago, whatever. But I feel like because it's something that people constantly talk about, like Nepo baby, to do a movie like this almost seems like weird now, because it's like, this is so odd. Like you're just like shouting at us Nepo baby, especially since the film is her singing, and also too, just I've noticed this because at work we play like iHeartRadio, and so I listen. It's just always on at work, and I've heard before this. I saw this movie for like the last 2 weeks. I've heard this advertisement like, listen to blah 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 by Shyamalan in the movie Trap by blah 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 by M. Night Shyamalan's new movie. And so they're like promoting it a lot. And that's what I find is kind of weird, is like the heavy promotion, and the fact that in this, I kind of thought, oh, it's a concert. And like, it's fine that she's featured in it and is singing. But I mean, and then I'm glad that her character then became more than that. And it was like, then you can see
even
why,
if she's not the best
there was
actor.
a lot of just like performing.
Yeah.
There was a lot of just like performing that seemed like, I feel like I'm watching like a Beyonce or Taylor Swift concert movie right now for someone I don't know.
Yeah.
So
I think that was the intention for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but I do and that's like fine if that's what he wants to do. It definitely didn't destroy the movie or anything, I think. But yeah, I mean, I do want to say, like, I do think Josh Hartnett is also a great actor, but I don't know, it was just something about him in the concert that I felt like was just, I don't know, like him trying to play a sociopath, trying to play a normal guy. I felt like it was a little too on the nose. I feel like it would have been a lot more subtle, because I almost wanted to say, like, gosh, if I met this guy and I found out he was a serial killer, people are usually like, oh my gosh, I never would have known that Johnny did that. Well, I would have been like, oh, I can see that. he's a little odd.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just, but it's, not the worst thing. But yes, I also loved that anger monologue. I do feel like what was, trying to be told through this story about those personal demons, the monster within. I did like that a lot. And I think that was like, I think the whole point of this story. And so I think it had a promising plot there. I wish it was just came about a little differently.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have seen more, just like one last tidbit. I wouldn't be surprised if this like started a trilogy, because it's already made 2/3 of its budget back already. So I wouldn't be shocked, but I will say what that's what I was, Manila Rivera, that's what I was referencing. But I wouldn't, like, I almost wanted 2 separate movies from this, because I feel like Josh Hartnett as a serial killer, that is innately more interesting than the premise of him being stuck at a concert. Like, I would have loved to have seen like how he balances his normal life as a serial killer. Also, yes, I would definitely love to see that, by the way. And then save Trap for like a lesser actor.
Yeah,
because like give it to someone who a good actor, but like someone who can, because I wanted to see more of him, like being like one step above like police and his family and all this other, like I wanted to see the machinations of his mind, and I think that would have been really awesome to see rather than this premise, even though it's a great premise and I still liked the movie. I wanted to see, like, I would love to see more of him. I would love to see more of this character because I think he's a great actor, and this character is just innately intriguing to me, essentially.
Yeah,
especially when he starts to unravel.
Yeah, and you know, like the movie's off to a great start. I was looking at the box office numbers, and it's already got a pretty decent, like, you know, opening for itself. It's pulled in like almost 16 million, including, I think when I looked at the opening day, it was like $6.7 million. So for what it is, the scale of the movie is doing well. What I will say though, I think that the fact that one of you guys really loved it and the other one didn't reflects well in the reviews, because it's split down the middle. 52% of the critics liked it.
Right down the middle.
48% didn't like it. It has like a rotten score basically because it's under 60%. And even audiences, over 1,000 verified ratings, it comes in at 64%. So while a majority of the audiences liked it, it's certainly not an overwhelming majority. So we will see how this movie plays out, and you know what, hopefully Josh Hartnett gets more and more opportunities as a result of this, because you could tell that, you know, he's got the chops to pull off a role with nuance, and maybe that leads to more bigger movies for him as well. And well, you know, M. Night, he's doing his thing. It seems like there's no stopping him from doing sham hamming it up. So let us know in the comments what you think about Trap. Did you feel like you were trapped in the movie theater watching it, or did you actually enjoy the experience? It seems like most people are kind of split down the middle on it, including our panel with John and Bridget. You know, John loved it, Bridget did not. So let us know in the comments what you think about the movie. If you're in the live chat, drop your comment down there. Hit the subscribe button as always, and then hit the like button, because that really, really does help us out a lot. And of course, if you already subscribed, then hit the notification bell so you know when we go live with a new show. Now, of course, we are going to be getting into DCU Daily in a little bit, but Trap, while that is the latest M. Night Shyamalan movie that is out there in the world, if you want to go check it out for yourself, there is another M. Night movie that, you know, of course, is what launched his career. It's a movie that almost to the day, so today we're doing this on August 5th, August 6th, 25 years ago, this movie came out, and it became a sensation. It launched the career of M. Night Shyamalan, and of course, now 25 years later, he's still making movies, so the lasting power of his storytelling capabilities is evident. But at Also Curious, we love movies, and so for the love of movies, let's take a look back at the iconic, memorable performance and storytelling from The Sixth Sense.
I want you to think about it really carefully. What do you think they want?
Just help.
Listen to them.
What if they don't want help? What if they're just angry and they just want to hurt somebody?
I don't think that's the way it works.
How do you know for sure?
Hello and welcome back to DCU Daily. We are back here talking about the world of DC, DC Studios, the Elseworlds, and of course today it's all about James Gunn, the main man himself, the co-CEO of DC Studios. It's his birthday, and you know, he deserves to celebrate it, and we will celebrate it alongside him, and we will celebrate all the work that he has done for DC already, and all the great stories that he is yet to tell that are on their way to us. So today, to do that and talk about other DC news, we've got with us John and Bridget. So John, I want to start with you because you are probably the biggest James Gunn fan on this panel. You're somebody who's probably the most looking forward to the new Superman movie. So what are your thoughts on the fact that, hey, it's James Gunn's birthday? The man just wrapped up Superman, working like 13. What was not 13? What did he say? He's sleeping for 3 hours. So if you do the math, he's been working 21 hours a day, and now while he's doing post production on Superman, he's gonna be directing more Peacemaker episodes. The man does not know how to stop working.
No.
What are your thoughts on James Gunn, and what is your level of appreciation for what he's bringing to DC Studios, a brand that has been in the gutter in recent years while Marvel has continued to climb the ranks, and now it looks like James Gunn is committed all in to try to get it back on top.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much ever since I joined DCU Daily, I pretty much got more and more excited for this movie because initially I was like, oh god, James Gunn is fucking, oh, it's gonna be like Marvel. It's gonna be filled with stupid jokes. It's gonna have a bunch of pop songs. It's like, all right, like I'll wait to see. It's probably not gonna be the worst thing ever, but like, I don't know. But then, like, I was kind of getting a little bit more excited, and then when we just kind of just started talking about it so much every day, and then especially talking about like filming in Cleveland every day for like 2 weeks. Like I just kind of got really. I'm still like a little cautious. It could suck. It could like with the amount of characters and all that stuff. Like, but I still like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is my favorite, MCU movie of all time. Guardians, the first Guardians is up there. The third one's pretty good. It has its problems, but it's still good. And I mean, he's done some good movies in the past. Like I know Slither is a cult classic. I know some people like Super, but he's also like done like movie 43, which I remember I think he was doing like a Wired autocomplete interview, and he was like, yeah, a lot of great directors worked on that, and yeah, sorry. And like nobody likes that movie. Nobody wanted that movie to be made, but like they kind of did. So, so he's done some shit. He's done some good stuff. I feel like Superman might be his best movie. I mean, I also liked the Suicide Squad. It wasn't perfect, but I think it was in like a step in the right direction. And I want to believe that this will be good. Like the thing is, David Cornsweet, I feel like the fact that like he was fan casted for so long, mainly because he just kind of looked like Henry Cavill, but like at the same time, people were like, "Oh no, he can actually do a really good job." And then there were outside of the few things I've seen him in, like he was in Pearl, great movie by the way. He was in that, and he like nailed that like Midwest charm very well. And I'm like, okay, that's like good like Clark Kent vibes. And then I've seen like a couple of clips of him in like on other movies, and he seems like a really good actor, and I really like that. So I'm excited for that. And like with everything that's been coming out, it just feels like James Gunn is like a comic book fan that's making like the comic book movie he wants to do. And I feel like that's he gets to pretty much do free reign whatever he wants. Now that could be either really good or really bad, because sometimes when you're given carte blanche, you just kind of go off the rails. Thor, Love and Thunder, I'm looking at you.
But you got to remember, Peter Safran is there as his.
But Peter Safran is also there,
part of the co-CEO equation. Right? So
from a business
he's going
point
to help
of view.
balance things out.
So hopefully, yeah.
But he also like
balance.
as a producer, he can tell him like, "Hey, man, we can't. Let's not go there." Like.
Yeah, and I think, but even then, like, I still trust him enough. It seems like he wants to be doing new things, but like keeping that core of the character, like that. Like as he said, he's a good man in a world that doesn't think goodness is good anymore.
I think it was kindness, right?
Or like kindness, whatever the hell it was.
Kindness in a world that thinks of kindness as old fashioned.
That was the pitch. That was the pitch he gave, and I'm like, you know what? That's pretty much Superman bare bones, and you know what? I'm ready for it. Like, especially, I feel like people are more open arms, like we've talked about in the past, like the fucking merch selling out both times in like within a couple of hours. And then like it's at Comic-Con, so it went like it was like in minutes. Like people were like, there was like a huge fucking line and shit. Like there was like so much. And then like I know it's silly, but it's like the way that the world kind of communicates with memes. Like you have the meme, you have the Starman meme with Superman, and like people like doing great feats and like just for like just helping their common man and equating that to Superman. It's like, okay, I think people are more than ready for just like a guy trying to do the right thing and being like, hey, my mom made my suit for me, guys. And I really liked that. I think that's very fun and very heartwarming. Like, look at this guy. Wait, go back to the look at him hugging the kids. Like, this is great. Like, we love to see that.
I love it. Yeah.
So
It's
I
fantastic.
think James Gunn has, like, especially when the two biggest inspirations are like two of arguably like the best Superman comics of all time, Superman for All Seasons, All-Star Superman, which I finally read, great stuff. And both, like, I feel like fit into like what he's trying to do and like why Superman will always be relevant, no matter how many naysayers like to say, oh, he's not relatable, he's not interesting, he's just a guy with a lot of power, when it's like that's not what the case is at all. So I feel like James Gunn is like honing that in properly, and I'm excited for what he has in mind, and hopefully he didn't wake up with too many cricks in his neck and back and
He's
lower
working
back
on
and
this.
legs as a 58-year-old man rather than a 57-year-old man. So I hope he had a good birthday. I hope him and Jennifer Holland had a good time with whatever they did. I know she wished him a happy birthday and all that. So yes, I did read that before. That was that's why I'm like, I feel like getting more excited for Superman. Like, that's kind of like the hindrance I had for The Boys. Like, why I kind of got so like sick of it, because I'm like, I'm sick of this cynical bullshit. Fuck this. I want happy, wholesome guy hugging kids. I don't want like blood and guts and like dick jokes for 10 hours straight. Fuck that.
Yeah, I think it's time for the pendulum to swing in the other direction.
Yeah.
And you know what? James Gunn is a very hardworking man. There was a comment the other day he was doing a social media Q&A, I think on Threads, and somebody was like, hey, I would, like, it'd be great to be in your body. He's like, I don't know if you want to be in my 3 hours of sleep, tired, creaking body. Now, of course, you mentioned it, and so I do want to put it up here. He reposted his wife Jennifer Holland's post about wishing him happy birthday. His of course best friends forever. They've been married now for a couple of years, and it's a difficult life. I remember when they were filming the movie a couple of months ago. I saw this on his social media. I don't know which platform, maybe Threads or Instagram. James Gunn posted a photo of him and Jennifer Holland going out for dinner, and what really stood out to me was like, they were like, haven't had, in between all these things that they're doing, both being busy people in their professional lives, they hadn't had a chance to really have like a dinner date in like months or like weeks, it seemed like. And so they were just happy to have that time to themselves. And you know what, I think that's very important to have that. And it's for the two of them to be going through. James Gunn is as busy as ever, like this period of time in their life, where Jennifer Holland has got a lot of projects of her own, including the DC project she's a part of, and to be able to kind of keep up with their relationship at this time and be supportive of each other and be there for each other, that's huge, And Bridget, to that end, I wanted to ask you, like, do you think for somebody like, and as someone who's out in LA and working on projects and auditioning and all the time, Jennifer Holland, I'm sure, has a busy life of her own. Like, how do you look at just the relationship that the two of them have, and just the support that they show each other on social media? It's fun to see that the people in front of the camera, like, as in Superman, are going to be wholesome, but it's also behind the camera, of course, there's a lot of wholesomeness going on there too.
Yeah, no, I think it's really sweet to see. And yes, I don't know why, but time out here in LA goes like a mile a minute every day. But it's a strange phenomenon, but time just, all the days start, like, I can't believe it's already at the end of summer, because it just goes so fast. But I'm sure that also, it's hard to really keep up with it, especially I think at their stage where they are just heading these huge productions and huge projects. It is hard, especially when you're in different regions and doing different things, to really find time to meet in the middle. So if they do have the ability to make that happen, then I think that's great. And hopefully they at least got to spend his birthday together. It's so cute. I know, it's like, and so inspirational. I hope I find a really hot producer husband one day too. But yeah, no, it's really cute. It's really cute.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think at the end of the day, when you look at just the footprint that he's already leaving on the world of DC, despite the fact he's just getting started. I think James Gunn has shown us that he wants to do right by these characters and do them justice and pun intended again. But yeah, I mean, I think Manolo mentioned there, Gunn Superman is going to do a much better job of commentary than the blunt club the boys devolved into, which I think is fair. I think as far as commenting, social commentary, or just talking about what superheroes, what value they serve to our society, and how I think Superman has a different perspective as a character on all of that, and the Superman story could really be something different from what we have become used to in recent years, like these more downtrodden, a little more realistic, if you will, in some ways, or just downright just dark takes, and I think we're ready for maybe something that's a little brighter, a little more optimistic, and Superman could be just that.
And if anything too, I think with Superman, I think he is one of, if not the original superhero. So I feel like with all that does happen, I think there is a calling sometimes in us to just want to go back to the basics, kind of start fresh, start over. And who better to do that with than, the first superhero that we know, the Superman. He's I feel like the most straightforward character that everybody knows, whether you've seen the movies or not. He's a legend. So I think it is also wholesome in that way to kind of go back to our roots and start over again.
Yeah, absolutely. And John, I have this story up on screen. I do want to ask you, Ron 6751 wishes James Gunn a happy birthday, as we all do from DC Studios, or actually DCU Daily, I should say, to the co-CEO of DC Studios, James Gunn. Superman box set. This is in comicbook.com. Superman box set has now been released, which collects the comics that have inspired James Gunn's movie. Of course, James Gunn a while ago posted all these images from these iconic Superman stories, kind of talking about these are all the inspirations, amongst many others, for my movie Superman, according to James Gunn. And now it looks like they've put them all into this one collection that you can, as a box set, purchase and then hopefully read into in preparation for watching Superman next year. What are your thoughts on this? Can you kind of give us an idea of what some of these comics are, and then would you recommend going out to buy it? Because it seems like it would be essential reading if you want to understand where this new Superman, David Cornstalk Superman, is coming from.
Yeah, so I would say this is going to be available a couple weeks before the movie starts, but I would say just buy them. I mean, if you're like a collector and you want to collect like the Superman movie box set, then sure, obviously. But like, I would say just buy all these now, because you could probably find them for cheap in like a used like comic book store or something in trades. So like, I would say go out, read them all now. You can even read them online somewhere. There's a lot of comic book sites, so just read them online. And but yeah, they include, the two I mentioned before, All-Star Superman and Superman for All Seasons, which are more like vignette like stories. They don't have like a through line of like a total story. All-Star Superman more so than Superman for All Seasons, but more are like just like isolated incidents of like various things happening in like the world of Superman. And then you also have Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow, which I don't know how that will translate well, because that was like a death of Superman. That was like the death of the Silver Age Superman. That's what Alan Moore was kind of going for, which was interesting. And then you have Kingdom Come, which is more so like the logo, but like obviously they didn't just want two comics, so they're like, all right, let's get them from like let's get a few more comics. So yeah, I would say go out and read them, but like if you want to wait and buy them, then I would say wait for the box set, but you got to wait a year for it. So and they're great comics. I have all of them. I do own every single one of those comic books. I will go get them, but yeah, I would say go buy them, go get them, go read them, because they're all great. Well, I would say the weakest is probably Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow, but all four of them are really good. So do it. And I like how you have like this box set. Like, hopefully it'll like get like a kick of people actually getting into comics, since comics are kind of a dying industry nowadays. So hopefully that'll get people more interested. Like, oh, hey, tie in with the movie. This is what inspired the movie. So go out and read them. So
yeah. I mean, Bridget, as somebody who's Exactly. Like, I mean, you're somebody who would consider yourself maybe a little bit more of a casual fan of comic book movies rather than somebody who's maybe like a really, like John and I are like more into the genre and follow it more closely. So do you feel like there is a lot of value in you kind of going out there collecting these comics, whether as a part of the box set or individually, and just kind of reading up on your Superman before you go to see this movie next July?
Yeah, definitely. I didn't grow up. Well, I never read many comics growing up, but my brother did. And so sometimes I would sneak in his room and steal a few. And they're fun, all the pictures, and it's kind of like, I feel like a step between a book and a movie, like picture books, and in a way. But still, yeah, it's pretty easy reading, so I think there's no excuse not to do it. But I think it is a great way to not only, especially for those of us who aren't as up to date with all of the details of the story and all that, it's still just a way to get ready, to get excited. And I think it does make the movie experience much better when you're really in the know and you can get those little references and things because you know the whole history and story. So actually that's probably what I will do, is brush up on the comics that I missed out on in my childhood. And so that way I can really be the best audience member I can be, become a better fan, and just enjoy the experience much more from that angle. I think it's it's the best way to prep yourself.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. I think it's one of those things where, especially like John mentioned, some of these comics aren't exactly, they're not meant to be these like long stories. You can read them and in a very relatively short period of time, and get a good sense of what these characters are. Speaking of which, John, I think you have some of these comics for us.
I found all of them. One was mislabeled, but I do have all 4 of them right here. I got Whatever Happened to Man Tomorrow, Superman for All Seasons, Kingdom Come, the deluxe edition of Kingdom Come, and then I have All Star Superman, and I read all 4 of them. So, hey, there we go. I have my whole. I don't have a big shelf, but I have my whole shelf up there. It doesn't fill the whole thing, but I have a lot of them. So, yeah, there.
Just loan them out.
Go. I don't loan out my books. The last time I loaned out something, I stopped being friends with that person. She still has my DVD of Mad Max Fury Road, and I'm still pissed.
So
anyway,
I've got a few here too.
But yeah,
we're just showing off our collections here. Like, sorry, John, I want to show off mine for a second here. I've got
no problem.
Superman Volume. This is All Star Superman Volume 2. I also have been working on Superman for All Seasons, and then of course I've got Superman Hero by Mark Miller, which I think is another one of those inspirations for James Gunn. So you got Steel in there as well, Supergirl. So it's just if you're a fan, if you and John, between you and I, there you go. You got some iconic moments.
Yeah, you have like
from these.
You have like
stories.
the sketches in the background.
Absolutely.
And like all that, and then look at fucking Alex Ross's art. Fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
It's great. It's this is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way. There we go. Now, Manolo was like, "No, that's a nerd flex." That wasn't even intentional. Like we just happen to have some of these, especially John. Like you got.
I have a lot of Batman stuff too. Don't worry. I have Nightfall.
Yeah.
I have No Man's Land. I have some of the Earth 1 stuff. What else do I have? I got New Frontier, Frontier, Watchmen.
I couldn't be a nerd if I tried.
we will.
I need more trades.
We're gonna be talking.
I just got Moon Knight for my birthday actually a couple months back. Nice. I finally got the 2. Dude, I needed to read more Moon Knight, so I'm like, let me read more Moon Knight because I read the Warren Ellis all new, all different Moon Knight, which was really good, but I was like kind of confused. So I'm like, okay, let me go back to the beginning. So I got like the omnibus, not like it was kind of the omnibus. They call it collect. It's an omnibus, but not omnibus. It's collected editions. It's kind of different, but it's pretty much omnibuses, but like not as expensive. So I have those on my shelf. What else do I got? I have another version of Kingdom Come. I have a lot of indie stuff as well. Like I have Mouse. My sister gave me. I still need to read that. She gave me that, and then I have Batman Black and White. I even own the garbage Heroes in Crisis by Tom King because I made the mistake of like telling my parents, "Oh yeah, get me anything." They're like, "Superman was on the cover," and I had already read it at that point, and it's Tom King writing for DC, so it's shit. So I'm like, oh, thanks. And I'm like, oh no.
Well, hey, Geek Ledger has a question for you, John. Should he buy the Superman graphic novel box set or just pick up the 4 novels in their compact comics form? Because if you get the 4-pack, I think it's like $85 that Geek Ledger pointed out. But or you can get them like $10 a piece.
I would say get them now, but like if you're I would say if you're like a collector, like a big collector, I would say get that, because there's probably going to be a limited edition and it's probably first come first serve. I don't think it's actually like going to be like, I mean, I want it to be, because again, inspiration, get read more comics, all that shit. But I would say go get them now, because like I found a bunch of these like pretty cheap. Like I found like Superman for All Seasons for like, I don't know, like $10-15 used in like in a game exchange.
I mean, even the brand new ones, like
even the brand new ones are like $20 to $25, like depending on how big the story is.
I mean, if you got a birthday coming up, there's holiday season, Christmas presents, like put them on your list. Shit. Have people give these to you. It's a good way to get. We'll get Bridget caught up. We'll get her some to read before Superman comes out next year. Don't worry. We don't want you to feel left out. It's and we know that you're also following along. And of course, if you don't want it, if you don't have room to kind of stash these on your bookshelf or anything like that, you can always just get it. Go to like Comixology.com or look at Amazon and Kindle and get them there. So, but yeah, I mean, hey, James Gunn's birthday. He's co-CEO of DC Studios, and of course the Superman movie is now wrapped in production. It's in post-production. James Gunn continues to work his ass off as he always has, and while he's doing post-production work on Superman, he's going to continue to work on Peacemaker, and he's of course going to be directing some episodes of Peacemaker. The dude is relentless. It's the kind of work ethic that you want to aspire toward, but at the same time, he's managed to carve out a nice life for himself with Jennifer Holland. They seem like they're now been together, married for a couple of years, and it's been going really, really well. She wished him happy birthday on social media, and he reposted it, which is great to see. Bridget, you were going to say something?
Also, I was just going to say, I think it's so funny. You were showing pictures of James Gunn earlier, and it showed him back, I think, when the first Guardians of the Galaxy came out, and he's doing like a press tour, and he still had his hair, and now he's like full gray. So I feel like that is a testament to show just how hard he has been working, that he's gone full gray.
I mean, the first Guardians movie is the first Guardians
10
movie
years
is
ago.
like turning 10 years old this year. It's ridiculous how time passes. But 10 years is it seems like it's an ages ago. He certainly looks like he has aged more than 10 years. But
it's the way, like when you're president, the president gets hair from so much stress.
Or the Obi-Wan effect, where it's like he looks like Ewan McGregor, and then 9 years later he looks like Alec Guinness. So
Alec Guinness, It's well,
that
guys,
desert air that'll just that'll just go right through you.
It will do that to you. Exactly. It's very coarse. Sand, it gets everywhere. That's why Anakin turned to the dark side. And with that said, that is all for DCU Daily today. Thanks for checking in. As always, like and subscribe as we like you to do. We are live with DCU Daily 5 days a week, so we'll be back tomorrow, the day after. Thursday and Friday, we have got Batman Cape Crusader to review tomorrow. We have got Kite Man episode 5, I believe, for review on Thursday. And then on Wednesday and Friday, we will have other DC news and topics to talk about, I'm sure. Bridget and I will be here with John. John, he's been watching, all of these shows, and he's got lots to say. And, we'll just try to keep
You're
up.
welcome.
But as we always do before we end the show, we like to look ahead to the movies coming out next week. So next week, there's 2 movies coming out. The first of which is Borderlands. Borderlands is a movie that, if you have not seen one of the very few trailers, you might be like, oh, like that game? Yes, it's based on the game. It's got Cate Blanchett. It's got Kevin Hart. It's got a bunch of other people beyond that. It's a movie that is set to come out in a few days from now, depending on when you're watching it. And quite frankly, there's not been nearly enough marketing for it. So Bridget, you're out in LA, big market, in the US, like between New York and LA, those are the 2 biggest markets. So have you been getting a lot of promotions for this film? And is this something that has been on your radar at all?
Not really, but funny enough, you can get tickets to the premieres of these shows out here in LA, which is really cool. And I saw that this one was coming up, and I was like, oh, should I get tickets maybe try and get tickets for that to go to the premiere, which I thought would be really cool. But then I looked up the story and the trailer, and it was like,
Nah.
I don't know if I actually want to go to that. And that's just I could be wrong, but that was just my instinct, was that it's something I'm not really intrigued to watch. Doesn't seem like my cup of tea.
Yeah, I mean, you got Jamie Lee Curtis, Ariana Greenblatt from Barbie. Like,
Yeah,
you've got a all-star cast, John. Like, what
yeah.
are your thoughts on
I,
it? Yeah.
I
Sorry, go ahead, Bridget.
really-
You were gonna finish your thoughts.
No, yeah,
I
you
was-
finish.
I
you
was
finish
gonna
first.
say I saw Jamie Lee and I was like, oh my god, I want to see this, and then I was like,
Nah, fam.
eh.
Yeah, I don't like Eli Roth as a director. I really like everything I've seen from him, which is so little. I'm just like, how the fuck does this dude have a career? Like, literally every movie has been like, he did those awful Hostel movies, just like torture porn crap. He tried to do Death Wish again, even though that was ripe for a remake, and he ruined that. He tried to do a kids movie with The House with a Clock in Its Walls, which also starred Cate Blanchett and Jack Black, and it's just like this. And Borderlands is already in a rough place because, like, I know some of the writers are like let's not get into it, but I've heard that the writers are very like not good people of the games, and like the studio supports terrible shit, but from what I've heard. And so like, and the games have a very weird following, and it's just like, it just doesn't look like it's one of those movies that could be really fun, but it just looks like, and I mentioned this before, I view this how, speaking of James Gunn, how people who don't like James Gunn view James Gunn movies, because this just looks like a really bad James Gunn movie. It looks like a shitty Guardians of the Galaxy ripoff, and that's me being nice. It looks terrible. And I've heard from what little I've gotten, like from the test screenings and from what little I know of the games from my friends who have played them, like none of the characters seem like they're actual characters. Like Jamie Lee Curtis and Cate Blanchett are like way too old. The character Kevin Hart is playing is like nothing like the character. And then it feels like the only character that is like properly cast is Jack Black, but I feel like Jack Black is in anything is, even with the whole controversy recently, I feel like anything with him, he'll just be like, he'll bring his A game no matter what. So it just looks fucking bad. And I've heard that like the test screenings were not good. I heard that like the early premiere stuff for like critics, it was like not very like I like, and the fact that it's gotten like no marketing and nothing, it just looks bad. It just looks like if you combined every worst aspect of a James Gunn movie and every bad aspect of a Deadpool movie and you stuck it into a blender, this is what would come out, and it just does not look good in any way, shape, or form. And I feel bad for the people that are fans of the games, but you know what? If this sucks, then you can just go back to playing the games. Boom.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. I mean, look, at the end of the day, this is a movie that it looks like the studio doesn't even believe in, so why should we? But hey, there's always the potential for, like, Jumanji didn't look particularly great or original, but the new one with Kevin Hart, The Rock, and everybody else. But that came out and it was fantastic. So you never know. Give it a shot. It doesn't hurt, and maybe people will be pleasantly surprised. We'll see. But the early indications are not very good. Now, speaking of early indications, it Ends With Us is a movie that I've been getting trailers for recently, and it's been getting a decent amount of marketing. I think they're trying to capitalize on the fact that Deadpool Wolverine and all the adjacent marketing for like Ryan Reynolds, and of course, by virtue of that, Blake Lively. She's been in the news, and it's part of the press tour with Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. This is a movie that is based on a book, and there's been a few of these rom-coms this year, and I am beginning to wonder, like, if we're either in a renaissance of rom-coms or if this is just more we every once in a while we pop out a good one, but it doesn't mean every single one is gonna like do the job. So It Ends With Us is it going to be cliche? Is it going to be actually good? Bridget, is this a movie that you would be interested in watching? Of course, Blake Lively in the lead role. It's based on a best-selling novel. Like, does that interest you?
Yeah, it didn't at first because, shocker, I do love rom-coms if they're done well. So yeah, I was reading the whole little plot on the side, and it takes place in Boston, and I lived there for a while, so anything that's like shot in Boston, I love because I'm like, I know that, and it's just gives me nostalgia for it. So I might watch it, but then just reading the rest of it, it does seem like she's to pick between one guy and another is what it sounds like. And I don't know, I'm just like it just doesn't, at least from what I know about it so far, it doesn't seem that intriguing, but I could be wrong. And usually I wait until like my sisters go to see something like this, and if they're like, oh, it's so good, then I'll be like, oh, okay, I'll go watch it. But it really has to draw me in, because the thing is, there's so many of these kinds of movies on like Netflix and stuff. I feel like in a way it's kind of competing with that. I know we talk about superhero fatigue a lot. I think there can be also rom-com fatigues because you see so many bad ones. They're like galore at this point that even if it is good, it might be like, it's got to really, I think, got to stand out in its own way.
Yeah. And I mean, John, the movie looks like it's made for Hallmark Channel, Lifetime.
Yeah.
But it just happens to be a theatrical release movie. Now that doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean, look, there was a time in the '90s where rom-coms were the rage, and they made all the money in the world. But
well, they were good too.
I mean, like,
they were good, but
just honestly, at this point,
good ones this year,
I mean, well, at this point, you know what? In order for rom-coms to just keep making money, just cast Glenn Powell and Sydney Sweeney in every single one, and then they'll just get money. They'll just print money. I feel like that's just kind of the case now. But like, just going to show how bad Borderlands looks to me, I'd rather go to a theater and pay money to see this than Borderlands, and that's saying something because I fucking hate rom-coms. Like, very rarely has a rom-com like the only one I could think of is what was that? Not Timeless. What was that one? About Time with Rachel McAdams and Donald Gleason. That was really good. I really liked that one. I mean, I don't know if Starman counts. It has romance and has comedy. I don't think that's categorized as a rom-com though.
Yeah.
But yeah, honestly, like, this just looks typical. But it's like, you know what? But the thing is, I've kind of I don't like them or respect them, but I'm like, you know what? In terms of like today's world, especially with like how terrible the dating world is nowadays, I feel like people just kind of want to forget that garbage and go see a movie where it's easy to fall in love and easy to maintain a relationship. So you know what? Good for them. And I hope they enjoy it. Like, it's not my cup of tea, but like at this point, rom-coms probably gives us something. I don't know. I feel like he's talking about Borderlands, but like, I mean, both are kind of.
I realize that.
Yeah. But I don't know. It's just like, it just feels like kind of like the same. But if like people love the book and then go see the movie, like, okay, because I believe she is co-writing the screenplay from what little I checked of it. But but like, you know what? If you like this, go see it. It could be a good time. So
yeah,
that's all I really have to say. I'm not an expert in this sort of thing. I know superheroes, but like, that's it.
She was in a great film, Age of Adeline, and that's kind of, I don't know, it's giving me like similar vibes. So if it was anywhere near as good as that, then I would like it. But it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell with the plot premise.
The trailers don't really give away much. I think what they're really targeting here is the audience that has like read the book, loves the book, and wants to see a movie made from the book. And Blake Lively is as good a choice as any for that. And quite frankly, I think this movie is meant to be more counter programming to a film like Borderlands, which is meant to be like this bigger blockbuster. But the train that is Deadpool Wolverine is going to run over pretty much anything that is out there next weekend still. So it's just a matter of seeing if this movie can kind of carve out a niche for itself, because Yeah, I mean, look, I personally, I loved like all those '90s rom-coms. You've Got Mail, Sleepless in Seattle, you know, the classics, of
Battle
course.
is the
But
guy in
Anything
Heat.
involving Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan,
anything
according to
involves
Dan.
exactly. I mean, there's more to it than that.
When
But
Harry
like,
Met
you know,
Sally
you
is
get
a
my
good
point.
one. That's another good
Yeah,
one.
I mean, hey, you know, Forrest Gump even, which
Well,
I
that's
would
a
I would
rom-com,
say
though.
is technically a rom-com.
And
I
plus,
feel like
Jenny's
the
a bitch,
Stark.
so
I
yeah, I
feel
don't
like
care
the
what anybody
Stark.
says. Jenny was a fucking bitch in that movie. I don't fucking care what anybody says.
It's a very unique take
I'm glad
on
she
the
died.
idea
Fuck
of a
her.
rom-com. Anyway,
Wow,
okay.
we just
Well,
okay.
with that bad take, I think it's time. I think it's time to end the show because
I think
we've
we're
run out
getting
of good takes.
tired.
We're getting tired. You
I'm
could
not
you could
tired. I'm
probably
getting
tell.
started. I'm
You-
ready to.
Josh is
I'm ready to fucking tear into it. Let's go.
Well, we'll let you tear into Batman Cape Crusader tomorrow because we'll be reviewing that the whole first season, and then we'll get into later in the week whether Batman Cape Crusader is gonna get better or worse with the second season, which is already greenlit. And of course, we have Kite Man airing its episode 5 on Max on Thursday. So we've got lots coming your way this week with DCU Daily Monday through Friday, and of course, we'll be back with another Also Curious next week, reviewing both Borderlands and It Ends With Us. And until then, guys, go out there, watch something, whether it's in the movie theater, on your couch, on Netflix, Peacock, Paramount Plus, whichever streaming service you prescribe to, and then come back and talk to us about it because we're here to talk about the movies for the love of movies. And until next time, we will see you right back here on Also Curious, and tomorrow we'll see you here on DCU Daily. John, Bridget, thanks for joining us on the show today. As always, guys, thanks for being on the show with us and commenting and liking and subscribing and hitting the notification bell. Some of you guys are still missing out. Rat2, we caught you the other day. You were like, duh, man, I didn't realize you were live. Well, hit the notification bell, then you'll know when we're live.
It's right
So
there.
it's right there. Yeah, just hit that notification bell and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit the like button if you enjoyed the show. We'll see you back here on the next episode. Next episode of Also Curious. Words are hard to come by right now. But until then, guys, have a good rest of your day. We'll see you next time.